Welcome to another Tech Help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I'm your instructor, Richard Rost. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to print just one label anywhere on a sheet of labels in your Microsoft Access reports. You got a sheet of labels that's got some blank spots on it already from labels you already printed? Well, we'll click the Print Label button. It'll say how many blank labels do you want. You'll tell it how many. It'll leave that many blank spaces. And then you get your label. And that's what we're doing today. Today's question comes from Allison in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. I hope I pronounced that correctly, one of my platinum members. Allison says, it happens a lot in my office where I print maybe 10 or 15 mailing labels on a sheet that has 30 labels. And then I can flip it over and print a bunch on the other side. However, I'm always left with one or two labels in the middle. Is there any way I can utilize those if I only need to print one label? Yes, Allison, sometimes I'm in the same boat myself, or I used to be. I love to use Avery 5160 labels. It's the standard label format. It comes with 30 labels per sheet. And it's 3 columns, 10 rows. And let's say you print a batch off and you use, let's say, 8 labels on the top, right? Well, then you could flip it over and print the other way. And now those labels are all gone. So you got all these labels in the middle here. And what do you do about those? How can you use those? Well, these are good for just printing like one-offs if you want to just send one thing out. And I'll show you how to do that in this video. Now, before we continue, I do want to let everyone know, if you print a lot of single labels, like one label here, 2 labels there, not a lot. Like the sheet labels are good if you're doing a batch, 10, 15, 30, 500 labels. Okay, great. But if you're only doing 1 or 2 here and there, you send correspondence here, put a package out, get yourself a Dymo label writer. They're great. They're real easy to use. They're not that expensive, and they save you a lot of time. I got a whole video on how to use Dymo labels with Access. So if you do this a lot, spend a few bucks, get one of these. But if you do print a lot of batches and you got a lot of extra label sheets left over with a few in the middle, yeah, you can still use those too. Sometimes I'll peel them off and just write stuff by hand on them, like I'll label stuff in the fridge, whatever. But I'm going to show you how to use these labels in today's class. Now, I want to give everybody a warning that what I'm about to show you does not apply to laser printers. If you have an inkjet printer or a dot matrix printer, if you're still using those, you're fine, okay? If you have a laser printer, do not do this. You should never feed a sheet of labels through a laser printer more than once. Okay, one time only. The reason is because laser printers use a lot of heat to basically bake the toner onto the page and make it stick there, right? And what happens is, if you pass labels through that printer one time, they get baked, right? If you do it a second time or even a third time, that heat can cause those labels to peel off inside the machine. And that's a very expensive repair. This happened a couple of years ago to one of my clients, and it basically was toss the printer and get another one. Okay, because I'm not going to sit there and take it apart, and he didn't want to take it apart. And repair shop's going to charge you $300. You can get a new printer for $200. All right, so don't do this with laser printers. Inkjets only. All right, now to do this, as you saw on the first slide, this is a developer level video. So you're going to need some VBA. There's no way around it. We're going to need a couple lines of code, at least to ask how many labels you want there. Yeah, I probably could put a solution like this together without that. We could use a form field. This is just one of those things that's easier if you know a couple lines of code. We don't need a lot, like maybe 10 lines of code to do it properly. Okay, so here's some prerequisites for you. First, of course, intro to VBA. If you've never programmed in VBA before, go watch this, about 20 minutes long, teach you everything you need to know to get started. You need to know what a delete query is. You need to know what an append query is. You should have a little background in SQL. I'm going to show you what you need in this video, but this will help if you have a little background in SQL first. So go watch this video. It's not too long. We're going to use some variables. We're going to use a for next loop. We're going to use an input box to ask the user how many blank labels they want. There will be some confusing double quotes and some concatenation. So go watch this video. And while you're at it, go watch this video on why I prefer double quotes instead of single quotes. These are all free videos. They're on my website. They're on my YouTube channel. If you don't know anything that I just mentioned, go watch those first, then come on back. This isn't terribly complicated as long as you understand all of those prerequisites. Okay? Okay. And again, I probably could put together a solution that doesn't involve VBA, but this is just easier. Once you know a little VBA, it becomes easier to do some things than if you have to go and try to sometimes it's harder for me to try to figure out a non-programming way to do something. So this is worth learning VBA for, trust me. Okay, so here I am in my Tech Help free template. This is a free database. You can download it off my website if you want to. We got a bunch of customers in here. These customers have addresses, and we're going to use these for some labels. So the first thing we're going to do is let's build a sheet of mailing labels that is set up exactly the way we want with the label size and the template that you want, all that stuff. So let's go through and run through the label wizard, which I think is a good wizard. I like this wizard. It sets all the stuff up for you. You just pick your labels. I covered this in my Access Beginner 1 class, by the way. So if you've never made mailing labels before, go watch Access Beginner Level 1. All right, so we're going to make mailing labels off of our customer table. So create, and then the labels over here in the report section. I'm going to pick 5160s under Avery. That's just the size that I like. If you got a different style you like, go ahead and find it. Use whatever you want. I don't care. Next. All right, all these settings are fine here. Next. Now build your prototype label. All right, it's going to be first name, space, last name, enter, address, enter. And then we got city, space, or some people put comma space, that's fine. State, space, zip, enter, and then country. Okay, there's my prototype label. Next, what do you want to sort by? It doesn't matter. Customer ID is fine, whatever. Next, we're going to change it soon. And then we're going to give it a name. We'll call this my customer label R. All right. And it says some data may not be displayed. You get this a lot of the times. It's based on your printer settings, and it's basically because the wizard sometimes makes this report too big, too wide. So all you got to do is come in here and just make this a little bit more narrow. You might have to slightly adjust these guys, make them a little bit smaller, but they should still fit. So save it, print preview. And okay, everything looks good now. Just make sure these still fit. You know, what I usually do before I waste a sheet of labels is I'll print this out on regular paper and then just hold it up in the light with a label sheet in front of it, and you'll be able to see where the lines are. Make sure everything lines up good. Okay, so there's our prototype. This looks fine. But what I want is I want to pick one person, okay, and insert blank lines, or blank records, I should say, in front of them. So we're going to use a separate table. We're going to make a label table. Put that one record that we want in that table, and then insert blank records in the table as well. Then when we sort it, it should sort the blank labels on top and put that label where we want. Get the process? That's what we're doing, okay? Okay. So let's close this down. Let's go over here and make a table. Create, table design. All right, label ID, that's my auto number. Do we need it? No, but it's a good idea. All right, it's always a good idea to have an auto number in a table. All right, then we're going to do line 1, line 2, these are all short text, line 3, and line 4. We got a 4-line label. Could you put the separate fields in here? First name, last name, city. Yeah, you could, but why bother? These are going to be going right to the label. We'll just format the stuff we want and then send each line to this table. Get it? Right? Okay. Save this, label T. Primary key, sure. There's our auto number. Okay. Everything so far has been nice and simple. Don't worry, it's gonna get harder. Just hang on a minute, okay? You're gonna like this. All right, let's manually put a record in here. Go to Datasheet View. I'll put myself in here, right? Rick Rost, 101 wherever street, and Cape Coral, Florida, 33909, and we'll leave line 4 blank if you're USA, like I always do. Okay. So we can spread that out. Okay, now. Save that. Now we're going to change that customer label report that we made so it gets its data from here instead of from the customer table. Okay, so come in here, right click, design view. First thing, change the record source. Come up here, and instead of customer T, instead of customer T, we're going to change this to label T. And it should get rid of the filter in the order by. That's fine. We're going to deal with that in a minute. Okay, now as soon as I do that, I can change these guys, because see, the address doesn't exist, and these things aren't going to be there. And the reason why I wanted to do this first, I know this seems like I'm doing some double work here, but the report wizard, the label wizard makes a nice, starting place because it sets all the margins up. It sets all the widths of the columns. So that's work I don't want to have to do manually. You can, but you don't want to. Let the wizard do some things for you. Okay, now I just got to change these to lines 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we'll come over here, go to all. All right, this one's going to be line 1. All right, don't forget to change your name. Right here, line 2. Okay, and this will be, guess what, line 3. I'm just copying and pasting that, by the way. All right, click here. This will be line 4. All right, I go down, up, copy, up, paste. All right, this little keyboard shortcut. All right, so we're good. Save it, close it. Let's take a peek. Preview it, right click, print preview. And, oh, customer ID. Where am I getting customer ID from? Okay, this took me a second. I had to go off camera and figure this out. I normally don't use the label wizard. I know when I teach, I use it. But when I build reports myself, I almost never use it. So this snuck in on me. When we ran through the wizard, okay, here, I'll do it again real quick. When we ran through the wizard, labels, oh, you got to pick something first here. Hold on. Pick customer T again. All right, create labels. All right, we did this. We did this. We built our prototype label, right? We did this. Then it asked me what I wanted to sort by. Now, normally, I don't put a sort in there. But when we were just goofing around doing this earlier, I brought over customer ID. Okay, and then I finished the wizard. So I'm going to cancel this real quick. What happens when you do that is it adds a sorting level to the report. But if you come into the report, go to design view, check your properties, you don't see an order by in here. Okay, I even tried setting that to no. That was by default, yes. And so, all right, I checked. There's no sort in here. I checked it. Okay, good. There's no order by. Close it. But I'm still getting that. Why am I getting enter parameter value? Now, I got a whole video on why you get enter parameter value. All right, go watch this video. More times than not, it's a spelling problem. People, they make a query or whatever. They type in some criteria wrong. It's usually enter parameter value is because Access is looking for something that doesn't exist. So something in this report is still looking for customer ID. Okay, where is it though? Where is it? It's a sorting and grouping level. Watch this. Go up to report design, turn on group and sort, and it's right here. Now it says sort by expression because customer ID is gone. I changed the record source. Okay, and if this wasn't a developer level video, I would have erased all this and started over for the beginners to not confuse anybody. But you guys are developers, so I want you to see this. Because chances are, if it happens to me, it's going to happen to you. All right, so to fix that, all you got to do is delete that grouping level, that sorting level, and then the problem goes away. See, the wizard put a sorting level on that I wasn't aware of. Okay, so tangent over. Now I got to update my enter parameter value page too. Let people know about that. See, I've been doing this stuff almost 30 years, and I still learn something new every now and then from just this simple little mistakes. And yeah, the label wizard isn't something that I use a lot. I teach it in like my beginner classes, and then I never use it really myself. So, okay, so now that we got rid of that, I should be able to go to print preview, and oh, there it is. Okay, whew. There it is. There's my one label. Now, if I were to add additional blank labels to this table, blank records, let's say you want to put this label in position 4. All right, add some blank labels. Now, to add a blank label, the easiest thing to do is just type a space in there. All right, space, space, space. All right, I added 3 blank labels. Okay, save it, close it, take a look again, print preview. All right, okay, that's still in position 1. So what do we have to do here? Well, just sort it based on whatever you want to sort it on. Now, you could use the ID. Okay, sort it in reverse order by the ID if you want to. Or sort it by one of these fields. I'm going to sort by line 1. You just got to always guarantee that there's something in line 1. Okay? Because IDs are tough because IDs can go in, not in ascending order. It's possible. Especially if you're in a multi-user database. You might have someone working on it at the same time you are. So I would just sort it based on one of the lines. So we're going to come in here, design view, go back into here, and use that order by we were talking about before, right? We're going to order by line 1. And that should put the blank records on top. All right. You might want to put some code in there to prevent them from adding a customer if there's no first name or last name. Right click, print preview, and there we go. Now we're sitting in position 4. Okay. We got there finally. Now, here's where the good stuff comes in. Here comes the good goods. You ready for the good goods? Here comes the programming part of it. What we're going to do is we're going to make a button on the customer form. Okay, right here on the customer form. You're going to print one label with this guy, but you're going to ask the user first, how many blank labels do you want? All right, this will be a special button for just printing one person at a time. Now, this button's got to do a bunch of stuff. First, we got to ask the user how many blank labels they want. Check to make sure they gave us a valid response, right? Then we're going to delete whatever is in that label table, because you got to delete any existing records that are in there. We're then going to insert into the table with an append query, insert into, right, the 4 lines that we want from our customer, first name, last name, address, city, state, blah, 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 all that stuff. Then we need a for loop to add the blank records. Then we're going to open the report. Okay, and that all happened in one button. Are you ready? Get your programming caps on. Here we go. Design view. Make a button. I'm just copy this one, copy, paste. Right? Print label. We'll make this guy bigger. And we'll give it a good name. Print label button. I thank Alex for that. I didn't used to name my buttons until Alex kept yelling at me and yelling at me. Now he guilted me into it. No, but he was right though. You should name your buttons. Name all your objects that you might possibly have to call later on. Some things like these labels, I don't bother because I almost never call them. But if I'm going to do something, like I want to change colors or fonts or whatever in code, I give them names. I will never refer to label 23. If I'm going to call this guy, the first time I do, I'll call it email label or something like that. Anyways, you can tell I'm recording this video late because I'm leaving tomorrow for a trip. So I'm trying to get one more video in before we leave. And it's been a long day, and I've had a lot of coffee, and just kidding. I swear I'm okay. All right, programmer time. Build event. Print label button click. Here we go. We are going to need some variables. We need a variable to store the input box answer. Okay? Input box, whenever you get in data from an input box, it should always go into a string. Always. Dim S as a string. Okay? But we need a number because we have to count how many blank labels to add. That's going to be a number, a long integer. So we're going to need how many as a long. And we're going to need a loop variable to count and for our for next loop. Right? For x equals 1 to how many. So x as a long. So there's our variables. Next, let's ask the user how many blank labels they want. S equals input box, how many blank labels before. Okay, how many blank labels you want to add before this record. Comma, title, print label, how about? Okay. Default value, I'm going to put a 0 in the box. And yes, you can usually just put a 0 there, but it's always, with input boxes, I want you to be thinking strings. Okay. Yeah, it'll take a number there, but it'll convert it to a string. Okay, but that 0 is going to be in the box. That's fine because we're going to convert it in a second. All right, now, if the user clicks cancel, because remember, you can't see it here, but let me move this out of the way. PowerPoint, yep. Input boxes, they give you your prompt, they give you your box, they give you OK and cancel. If they hit cancel, then it returns an empty string. Okay, all right, get back. So right here, we're going to say if S is a blank string, an empty string, then exit sub. That means they hit cancel. They don't really want to do that. They didn't mean to click the button. Okay. Now, I want to check to make sure that the value they entered is numeric. I don't want them entering cat, right? So if not is numeric S, then exit sub. Is numeric checks a string value and says, is that a real number? Is that a valid? Is that a good number? Okay. All right. Exit sub. If they entered in something like, Jean-Luc Picard, no, that's bye. Well, that's awesome, first of all, but no, bye. Okay. At this point, we've got a valid number in S. So I can now say how many equals CLNG S. That's convert to long. I just did a video on type conversions a couple days ago. Go watch this. All right. Now, if you want to put any kind of parameters on that number, now we have a number, right? You might want to check and say something like, if how many is less than 0, then exit sub. If they type in a number that's crazy high, like 5,000, whatever, you can put that in there too as well. And if you want to give them error messages, you can do that too, right? You could say in here, message box, must be 0 or more, exit sub. If you want to be nice, instead of just exiting without telling them. All right, that's up to you. Okay. So now we have a valid number from 0 to whatever. And now it's time to actually do the work. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to clear the label table. Label table. Label table. I like that. All right. Current db.execute delete from label T. That's a delete query in SQL form. I cover that in more detail in my SQL seminar and in several of my other developer lessons. I like to use current db.execute. It's got some benefits over do command.run SQL. There's also there's pros and cons with either one. I like current db.execute. I got a video coming out soon on the difference between the two and why you'd want to use one over the other. But for now, just go with this. Now, the next line is the tough one. And this is the one where we insert the lines into our label table. I find that it's easier to write it first as an actual SQL statement and then copy it over. So it's going to look like this. It's going to look like insert into label T, line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4. Okay. And then on the next line, this isn't valid. So this is just SQL. We're going to convert it over to VBA in a second, right? Then we're going to insert the values. Okay. And then inside of parentheses, we've got to go, right? Richard Rost is in line 1, comma, right? 101 Main Street, comma, Cape Coral, Florida, 33909, comma, and then a blank string for address. Okay? That's what it's going to look like as a valid line of SQL. We got to convert this over to a proper VB string. So it's going to look a little different, all right? Current db.execute. The first line is the easy one because the first line is pretty much valid as it is. Okay, so like that. Okay, with a space on it, and then next line. Okay. Values by itself is good. I'm going to just set that on its own line to keep things looking nice and neat. Okay. Now this is where it gets tricky. Because all of this has to go inside a string. Okay, so I'm going to put quote there and quote there. But everywhere inside here that you see a quote has to turn into another quote, right? That has to actually be double, double, Richard, double, double right there, right? Double, double here, double, double there, double mint gum. I'm just kidding, right? And then this is the tough one because it's got to look like that. Okay, inside that string. Now, this is actually technically a valid string. And if I ran that, it would insert those values into the table. Okay, in fact, let's do it. Here, I'm going to save this. And we'll come back out here and we'll click the button. All right, this hasn't been programmed yet, so that's not going to do anything. Let's check the table. And look at that. It deleted what was in there and it inserted that stuff into those lines. Okay. Now comes the tricky part. All right, now instead of Richard and Rost, I need to convert each one of these into the fields that belong there instead. All right, so Richard is going to be first name. So it's going to look like this. It's going to be quote and first name and quote, just like that. In fact, everywhere you see one of these, it's going to be quote and the field name and another quote. So Rost is going to be quote and last name and quote, just like that. Keep clicking off it to make sure you're valid. Okay, same thing here. This whole block right here. Quote and address and quote. And then you got city, state, zip. This is a tricky one. Let's go down to the next line here. So we're going to come after address. Actually, let's try to get each one of these on its own line. Let's see. First name and last name. All right. Then address will be on its next line like this. So we'll do that. Put you on the next line. Okay. And then let's put a block here. All right. Now we got the same thing here. Cape Coral is the city. So quote and city and quote. Florida is the state, quote, and state, and quote. Zip code's right here. Just select it, quote, and zip, and quote. It looks weird, but it's right. Okay? And then this right here is an empty string representing where the country is going to go. Okay? So instead of a blank, you want to put it right in the center there. And country and I think we need one more, don't we? Yes, we do. We need a quote and country and quote like that. Okay. And let's put country on its own. Phew. It's a lot of work doing these sometimes. This honestly is one of the reasons I kind of prefer record sets sometimes. Record sets honestly are a lot easier than SQL sometimes. SQL does often work easier if it's simple things, but something like this can be a little crazier. So let's test this, save it, come back out here. Let's go to a different record, and we'll do Jimmy Kirk. Ready? Print. And then there he is. Okay. So there's the record. Now we got to add in our blanks, our blank lines. So for, this is actually the easy part. For x equals 1, 2, how many? Next. Inside here, we're going to insert x number of blank lines. Current db.execute, insert into label t. Don't worry, this one's not going to be as crazy. We're going to just insert into line 1. You don't have to do all 4 of them, just one field. All right, values. And we're just going to insert a blank value in there, just like that. Insert an empty string into line 1, and it will still create the record. I've done this a million times. And then when we're all done, do command.open reports, customer label R, comma, AC view preview. Go to preview mode. Otherwise, it's going to be spitting stuff out. Gives you a chance to make sure your labels look good, right? Before you print them, before you waste paper, waste labels. Save it. Give me a quick debug compile. Everybody looks good. Close it. Close it. Let's open it up. Let's go to somebody else. William Riker, print label. How many blanks you want? Give me 3 blank labels. Hit OK. And boom. There you go. 3 blanks are up top here. Right? Give me somebody else. Give me Wesley Crusher, print label. Give me 7 blank labels. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Remember that? Who's as old as me? Remember that from, what is it, Sesame Street? There's Wesley. That's how you do it, folks. Like I said, it's not terribly complicated. This is a pain. This really is a pain right here. I will admit it. That's not it. You could do this with a query. If you don't want to do something crazy like this, you could build a query based on this guy. Here, let's do it real quick. Create. This might actually be easier. Create, query design. See, I'm all about trying to do stuff in SQL, but that was tough for me with all those quotes. So you could do it like this. You could do customer T. Okay, right? And customer ID is going to be the currently open customer. So that equals forms customer F customer ID because you only want one record. Okay. All right. Now line 1, you just build your line here, right? We're gonna turn this into an append query. We're gonna append into the label table. Hit OK. All right. We're gonna append into line 1, and that's gonna be first name and a space and last name. Okay. And expression 1's meaningless. All right. We're gonna append into line 2. Let's get rid of this thing. And that's going to be the address. Okay. Line 3 is going to be city and a space and state and a space and zip. And then line 4 will be our country. Okay. And if you look at the SQL, that's what it looks like. But you got to convert all of that into VB, which is where we had our difficulty before. So why not just save this, right? You can just save this, design view, save this as my customer label append queue. Okay, run it, and then take a look. And okay, there's the one that's open now. That's the one I just added. Okay, so if you want, instead of all this, which I'm going to leave this in here for the gold members so you can actually see this in the database. I'm just going to rem this out. All right, if you don't want to go through that nonsense, you could just do command.open query customer label append queue. That's a little easier than all of that in this particular. Okay, maybe I should have did this instead of this. But I use this a lot. So practice this, get used to this, right? All right, save it, close it. Let's do somebody else. Let's go to Tom Paris, print label. How many blank labels? Give me 4 blank labels. Hit OK. There it is. And it worked with the query. 6 of one, half dozen. Now, this is like 6 of one and 5,000 of another. Yeah, I will admit this is the query is easier than this. It's easier. This query designer is great. I just try not to have a million queries in my database. That's all. And I'll be honest, sometimes like I fire through this quickly on my own. Like when I'm putting together the video, I'm gonna show you guys what to do. And I just sit here and I'm okay. We got to do this. We got to write this. And I wrote this myself in like 30 seconds because I've been doing this for so long. But then it comes down to recording the video and I'm trying to explain this to you, and I'm like, it's a little more difficult while you're explaining it. So that's why I wanted you to watch all those prerequisites too. Okay, I've talked your ear off long enough. Some extra stuff. I have a mailing label seminar where I show you this and lots more. We do stuff where I show you how to add multiple blanks. You can make multiple copies of blank labels. You can make a full page of the same label. You can add blanks before a batch of labels. If you can do 15 different labels, you can put some blanks in front of those. All kinds of stuff. About an hour long, and I cover a bunch of other stuff, and it's pretty cool. If you want to learn more about SQL as it pertains to Access, I got SQL seminars available. Part 1 is all the basics, covers all select statements, and the crazy stuff that we did today with the quotes and all that stuff. That's in Part 2, where we do append queries and delete queries and union queries, which is something you can't do with the graphical editor. And of course, come check out my Access developer lessons. I got lots and lots of stuff, starting from the beginning all the way up. I just finished level 43 a couple days ago. And yeah, remember, if you don't want to go through all this, just get yourself a Dymo label writer. Print them off one at a time that way. But no, I get it. I too, I used to print a lot of labels when I used to ship CDs. I used to ship hundreds of CDs a week, and I would always have label sheets left over with like 3 labels in the middle of them. So that's when I started doing this myself. So I get it. And see, I can always tell when I record a video at night, because when I record at night, I tend to go off on more tangents. It's about 11 o'clock at night. And usually I record in the morning. I do my customer service, have my coffee in the morning, and then I record my video around, try to do it around lunchtime. And then, yeah, if I record at night, especially after a couple cups of coffee at night, they go long. This is the longest one I've done in a while. That wasn't an extended cut. Okay, so that's going to be your long-winded tech help video for today. I hope you learned something. I hope you had some fun. I know I did. Even though it's, yeah, I still have a lot of fun doing these. I wouldn't trade my job. But live long and prosper, my friends. I will see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and post any comments you may have below. I do try to read and answer all of them as soon as I can. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, which is completely free. Click the bell icon and select all to receive notifications when new videos are posted. Want to learn more? Click the Show More link below the video to find additional resources and links. YouTube does a pretty good job of hiding it. It's right down there. See this part of the description here, right? The name, the video's up here. There's a little Show More down there, right down the bottom. It's kind of hard to find. But once you click on that, you'll see a list of other videos, additional information related to the current topic, free lessons, and lots more. And YouTube no longer sends out email notifications when new videos are posted like they used to do. But if you'd like to get an email every time I post a new video, click on the link to join my mailing list. And you can pick how frequently to get emails from me, either as they happen, daily, weekly, or monthly. Now, if you'd like to become a paid member of my channel and receive all kinds of awesome perks, click on the Join button. You'll see a list of all the different membership levels that are available, each with its own special perks, including my extended cut videos, access to my code vault, lots of VBA source code in there, template downloads, and lots more. I'll talk more about these perks at the end of the video. Even if you don't want to commit to becoming a paid member and you'd like to help support my work, please feel free to click on the tip jar link. Your patronage is greatly appreciated and will help keep these free videos coming. I got some puppies to feed. But don't worry, no matter what, these free tech help videos are going to keep coming. As long as you keep watching them, I'll keep making more, and they'll always be free. Now, if you really want to learn Access and you haven't tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access, including building forms, queries, reports, and more. It's over 4 hours long. You can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. I'll put a link down below you can click on. And did I mention it's completely free? The whole thing, free, 4 hours. Go watch it. And okay, a lot of you have told me that you don't have time to sit through a 4-hour course. So I do now have a quicker Microsoft Access for Beginners video that covers all the basics faster in about 30 minutes. And no, I didn't just put the video on fast forward. But I'll put a link to this down below as well. Now, if you like level 1, level 2 is just $1. That's it, $1. And that's another whole 90-minute course. Level 2 is also free for paid members of any level, including supporters. So if you're a member, go watch level 2. It's free. Okay, want to get your question answered in a video just like this one? Visit my tech help page and send me your question there. Members get priority, of course. While I do try to read and respond to all of the comments posted below in the comments section, I only have time to go through them briefly a couple of times a month, and sometimes I get thousands of them. So send me your question here on the tech help page, and you'll have a better chance of getting it answered. And while you're on my website, be sure to stop by my Access forum. We've got lots of lively conversations about Microsoft Access and other topics. I have a fantastic group of moderators who help me answer questions. Shout out to Alex, Kevin, Scott, Adam, John, Dan, Juan, and everybody else who helps out on the site. I appreciate everything you do. I couldn't do it without you. Be sure to follow my blog, find me on Twitter, and of course on YouTube. Yeah, I'm on Facebook too, but I don't like Facebook. Don't get me started. Now, let's talk more about those member perks if you do decide to join as a paid member. There are different levels: Silver, Gold, Platinum, and Diamond. Silver members and up get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, one free beginner class every month, and some other perks. Gold members get all the previous perks, plus access to download the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos, plus access to my code vault where I keep tons of different functions that I use, the code that I build in most of the videos. You'll also get higher priority if you do submit any tech help questions. Now, answers are never guaranteed, but you do go higher in the list for me to read them. And if I like your question, you got a good chance of it being answered. You'll also get one free expert level class each month after you've finished the beginner series. Platinum members get all the previous perks plus even higher priority for tech help questions. You get access to all of my full beginner level courses for every subject. And I cover lots of different subjects like Word, Excel, VBA, ASP, lots of different stuff, not just Access. These are the full-length courses found on my website. You get all the beginner ones. In addition, once you finish the expert classes, you get one free developer class per month. So lots of training. And finally, you can also become a Diamond sponsor. You'll have your name or your company name listed on a sponsors page that will be shown on each video as long as you're a sponsor. You'll get a shout out in the video and a link to your website or product in the text below the video and on my website. So that's it. Once again, my name is Richard Rost. Thank you for watching this video brought to you by accesslearningzone.com. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something today. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you again soon.